beautiful being. Here we are together again. It is lovely to see you, and I just don't feel like fighting with the wind today. It's marginal, but I think it's too noisy. So no drawback. We get to be inside with the rocks. Yay! So this is one of my favourites because I like how it just sits in my hand. It's just cuddly. I mean, you know, if a pointed sharp rock can be cuddly, this is cuddly. It's just lovely for holding on to. And this is the piece I want you to see, that each of these points has got all these little babies on the side. Oh dear, there's all this dust flying off it because I haven't dusted it. Good morning, beautiful. Great to see you. So it's very sparkly, which is lovely. And I don't know, there's probably some fancy name for that, but I just call this milk quartz because obviously it's the colour of milk. Really, it's very white. And it really is very beautiful. Misty, it's you. Good morning. So I just like being able to wave it at you and have it sparkle and be beautiful. It's like a little city. Hey, Linda, it's been yonks. It's lovely to have you. Oh, I guess the grandson shuttle is late or early or something, but it's lovely to have you with us. Today it's all about quartz, really, although this is a lot more than quartz. This is my everything rock, which was given to me by my beautiful friend Jenny. And clearly there is quartz there, right? I mean, this is quartz. You can see it's a six-sided crystal. However, we also have... Now, where is it all? So many things. It's a mongrel of a rock. This blue stuff that's growing in blades, don't know what that is. Jenny doesn't know what it is. We have... This is calcite. You can see the characteristic, that rhomboidal shape there, that's calcite. It's quite optical and reflective, you can see it. This green stuff here is epidote, which is just, you know, yummy and delicious. Good morning, Andrew, great to see you. The brown there is probably some kind of hematite, you know, normally if it's brown or even if it's black, it's something to do with iron. And there's a kind of a reddish, where is it? Sort of a reddish colour in here that you probably can't see very well. There you go. So it's an everything rock, and it's got gaps through it. It's so interesting, and I'm very grateful that Jenny decided to give it to me. So yeah, it's very cool. That's the everything rock, that one. You know, it's quartz, but it's got a whole lot of other stuff. Oh, I didn't show you. See this point? You can kind of see through it. It's got inclusions. It's so perfectly imperfect. I'm really fond of it. Ah, week's vacation. Well, that's the answer. It's lovely to see you live, Linda. And one more because, you know, two rocks. Well, it might be enough, but today it's not. This is citrine. Yes, it's quartz. It's a variety of quartz that is a little bit golden and yellow. And, well, there you go. It's lovely. And look, you know, clearly it was part of a geode, which is broken up. And there it is. And you see there was a big point there that broke off. But the rest of it is all there. And there's these lovely long crystals and all these, you know, little babies. A little bit of a, you know, it's like a cave. There's a cavity in there. I can stick my finger right into it. So it's a lovely piece. So there are our sparklies for today because it's just a bit too windy to be outside. Holly, good morning. I can see your beautiful face up there. Yay! Glad you're here. I'm glad every one of you is here. Whoever you are, whether I know you or not, it's lovely to have you join me. And today, this is Jocelyn Kelly's question. Jocelyn, I know you'll see this sooner or later, and I'll probably tag you just to make sure. It's quite some time ago, because I gather pain point questions. And by the way, if you've got something niggling or something you're wondering about or something that's just been annoying as snot and you're thinking, how do I handle that? Please drop me a question. Stick it in the comments or PM me if you don't want to do it there. I collect questions because I like to answer them. Jen, good morning. So, keep me supplied with questions. And this is one that sat in the pain point question little text file that I have for a little while, and yesterday I thought, okay, I'll do it now. And the question's about forgiveness, and it wasn't just, oh gee, do I have to forgive question. It was really about, and it was part of a larger one, and it was really a two-parter, and I answered the first part a while ago, but this part was, so are you saying that forgiveness is necessary to release a long-term memory? And that's a really good question, right? It is a really good question. And so that's what I want to address. Now, the first thing that people can think about forgiveness, because of what some of us at least can be told at church, and I include myself in that because I was very religious when I was younger. Who knew? Me. And you can get the idea, and I think a lot of the thinking and understanding has moved along, but we can still have this program running that we not even aware of, that forgiveness basically means saying, oh, it's okay, I forgive you, it doesn't matter, never mind, I'm letting it go, that kind of thing. That is not forgiveness. That's not forgiveness. That can, I don't know what you would call that. It might be dismissal. It might be a genuine never mind, because some of the things that people get pissed off and upset about for decades are things that really didn't matter. It's just that they made it a big deal because of where they were at. And if that's been you, don't beat yourself up. Because normally if something hangs around like that, there's a really good reason why you have kept yourself in that refractory state of that negative, angry, whatever it is, emotion for that long. But it's usually not the thing that you think it is, right? Not going down that path today. So it's not about saying it's okay, because some of the shit that people do to other people is not okay. It's never okay to do some of the things that people do. So forgiveness clearly isn't, oh, it's okay, I'm letting you off the hook, it didn't matter, you didn't hurt me, bullshit. Some of the things that people do are reprehensible. They are awful. Enough said. So if forgiveness is not saying it's all right, you didn't hurt me, I forgive you, that sort of, I still can't really define what I used to think forgiveness meant. But whatever it was, it's not what I understand it to be now. Forgiveness is nothing about the other person, what happened, what they did, who did what to whom. It has nothing to do with any of that. It doesn't freaking matter. Okay? It's got nothing to do with that. So here's why it's got nothing to do with that. Let's say traumatic event happened to you 5 years ago, and you have every justifiable right and reason to feel extremely angry and extremely hurt about what happened to you. Okay, it happened 5 years ago, and maybe it's a one-off event, and the next day that person fell off the face of the earth or got run over by a Mack truck. They're not even here in body yet. I mean, I'm painting a picture, stay with me. They're not there anymore, but you are still angry as, or pained as, or whatever it is, as much as you were the day it happened, and it's 5 years later. Or longer. And you've heard me tell the story of how when I was 19, I was in a relationship with somebody who was sexually abusive. And I hated him with a passion for decades. Hated him. Wanted him to die painfully. Now, never mind the effect that could or may not have had on him at a quantum level. He's still alive today. He looks like a happy chappy. I actually looked him up and thought, well, I don't need to connect with him, but hey, he's moved on. I wish him peace, because I've moved on myself. Lindsay, it's you! Great to see you! But what I understand now is that all of the time I was feeling the fear of it happening again, or the anger about it happened, or whatever it was, I was keeping myself anchored in the past. Now, what do I mean by that? How does that work? So when you have an experience and it's enough to make you pay attention, because, if you have to forgive somebody for something, it was enough to get your attention, right? It's not just routine, it's something new, it's something painful. You have a change in your internal state because of something that somebody outside of you did or said or whatever it was. At that point in time, and the more powerful it is, the more your brain does this. Your brain perks up, it wakes up, it takes a snapshot of everything that's going on, and it says, shit, I better avoid this. And also there's all this chemistry that happens because it's making neurological connections to record all of that stuff, because that's what the brain does. It takes a snapshot, it literally builds connections in your brain which result in chemistry being poured into your body, which is how you have the emotional experience, right? That's neuroscience. And then because you feel this way, you're immediately starting to think, oh my God, that was a horrible experience. And you remember it again, and you fire those neural connections, and you have the experience again chemically, and it's now. And the more you think about it, the more you have those feelings, and the more you think about it, and the more you have those feelings, and round it goes, and you are conditioning and literally binding your brain, those neurological connections, and your body with that chemistry right into that moment, and you are stuck there. That is what happens. Yeah, so, and because intimate relationships now fire up all of those neurological networks in your head, Lindsay, and the chemistry pours, and of course it's almost impossible because your body is saying, hell no, I don't want that to happen again. This is too much like that thing that happened over there, and I can't go back there because the chemistry is so painful. That's at least some of what's going on when trauma, it gets stored in the body. And when you then look back on that person and hate on them or fear them or whatever it was, then you are stuck there in that moment. And you're just there. There's nothing you can do. And all of that stuff, there's all of these neural nets, and there's this big story you can tell about it. But the more we go back into it, the more we affirm it. And so forgiveness is actually about loving yourself enough to do the work to prune out those neurological connections so that the chemistry stops pouring, so you can stop having that experience go on in your brain and your body. That is forgiveness. Really. I mean, day to day, ongoing, the process of forgiving. And you can have these big experiences where, because you've been working on yourself, overcoming whatever it is, that there, and I haven't had this myself, but I've listened to people tell stories that, they've been deep in a meditation, and the person that hurt them came to them in meditation, very powerfully, very clearly, like they were right in front of them, and asked for forgiveness or whatever it was. And the person in that moment had to make a choice about whether they were going to hold them there and continue to have this emotional, energetic, and chemical, neurological, and epigenetic, and everything else bond with that person or not. And even in this very deep state where you're way beyond yourself and you're letting go of who you are and your past and everything, you're right in the present, it can still take an enormous amount of courage to say, I'm letting you go because I love myself. I'm forgiving you, not because it was okay, not because of any of that. It's just because I love myself that I am letting go of my past. I'm no longer going to say, well, this person did this thing to me, so it means this about who I am and how I feel and what I can do and who I can be, and this is my reason for being that. Because we use these traumatic events in our lives to define ourselves. I'm a victim, I'm a survivor, I'm a warrior. All of those things, and I've got to be careful saying this because all of you, and me too, we've all inhabited that, and it's part of the process of overcoming it. But as long as I'm fighting something, as long as I'm a victim of something, or as long as I have survived something, I'm still attached to it. I'm still connected to it. I'm still relating to it. It's still part of me. And the only way to not be continually influenced by it, sing Marie, and hello to everybody in Limbombolo. It's awesome. All around the world we are. The only way to not connect to all of this is to, remember, come back to the brain. You've got to prune those memories, those neurological connections apart. Now, how do you do that? What my inspiration Joe Dispenza says, and I've found this to be true in my own life, is that a memory without the emotion becomes wisdom. A memory without the emotional charge becomes wisdom. So what that means is that I can now look back on that experience that I had with that young man, and to a large extent, I feel none of the emotions I used to feel about that event. There are some other things that I haven't de-fired and de-wired as much that I still think. I have a little sort of a inside me, and I think, no, I still love you, Maddie, and that was the past. I am able to choose whether I have the emotional experience again or not. Whereas the memory that you remember, and there's triggers and these things, and it comes up and you can't choose whether you have the bad emotions or not. They just, boom, they're there again. Amy, good morning. That is a memory that has not yet become wisdom, because you haven't overcome yourself enough to prune all of those synaptic connections apart so that the nasty chemistry doesn't pour. Getting really down to brass tacks and basics, but that's what it boils down to. When you can remember a memory and it has no emotional charge to you, then you're free from it. And of course, you're not going to hold that person hostage anymore, and they can't hold you hostage either. So this is what forgiveness is loving myself enough to let go. Loving myself enough to be able to think of that person and say, I'm not going to wish you dead anymore. No, that is not who I want to be anymore. Loving myself enough to leave the abuse I experienced in the past. To realize that the past exists in my brain and in my body, and I have to overcome what's in my brain and in my body. And if I love myself enough to do the work to do that, then I'm coming into the present, and as the triggers go off, because they will, I get to bring myself back into the present, because the triggers yank me back into the past, and they make me believe that the future is going to be the same as the past. So every time the trigger goes off, I've got to yank myself back into the present. Now, how do I do that? Brain coherence, heart coherence. I don't know of any other way to truly do it. Because when I'm deeply coherent, I can change my brain and I can change my chemistry. And having practiced this for 2 years now, I'm getting to the stage where I can more easily change it with my eyes open as well as with my eyes closed. And that is real freedom. It isn't always like that. Sometimes, an emotional storm will blow up and I think, well, shit. And I just have to manage it as best I can. I don't get from wherever I, boom, gone, to feeling level and normal and okay again. I just keep managing it. I keep moving myself towards the present moment, even though my body's gone back into the past, sometimes big time. My body's gone back to an old emotion. It's running an old program. My brain has recognized a trigger in the environment and said, that is bloody scary, you have to run away from it. And my body does this. It did it yesterday, it did it very powerfully the day before. It doesn't do it all the time. It's like it happens once a day, sometimes. It's no longer regular for me. I used to spend my entire day pretty much in stress, and I didn't even know it. It was normal for me. Oh my God. I did. I really did. And I'm only recognizing it now because I'm coming out of it. Yeah, loving yourself is a huge blessing because it means you can let go of the past, and you've got to love yourself enough to develop the skills to get out of the past and come into the present and stop predicting a predictable future based upon the past. That's what we have to do. And that is forgiveness, is when you can say to that person in your awareness, you don't need to say them in person. It's a lot easier not to do it in person, and sometimes it's utterly desirable not to do it in person. I love myself enough to let you go. Go and live your life. And every time it comes up and you want to, no, I love myself enough to stop doing that. That was 15 years ago. Is anybody worth staying in fight, flight, or freeze for that long? really, how much of your power and your health, by the way, are you willing to give away to your past? And to someone who, they may be in your face every day, and that's really challenging, but they have power over you. You're giving your energy away to them while you continue to say, oh, there's that person, I hate them, I want them to die. So much energy, and it's deleterious to your body at a cellular level every time you do that. Yeah, we do have to love ourselves enough to stop, to let go. And yeah, cutting cords, Andrew, you're right. The only proviso I have with those words, and I know what you're saying, so I'm not saying don't do cord cutting, but the proviso I have with those words is that when I think of cutting cords, there's a cord and you cut it and the cord is still there. And the cords that are still there have a habit of re-braiding themselves back together again. That's what I've found. And that, of course, is because, you make a decision to let go of somebody once, and that's fine, but you might have been firing that neural net in your head for 12 and a half years. So you might have to make the decision more than once and say, no, you're not going to grow back together again. No, I love myself enough to let you go. And every time I find myself wanting to hurt you or hate you or feel, oh, you bastard, you were so horrible. And we get this, some of us get a big fix of being right by being able to look at that person who did something that was truly awful and say, you're so wrong, I'm so right, I'm the victim, I'm justified, I'm righteous, and you're a sinner, all of that. You have to be willing to let go of all of that. We can be pretty addicted to that. It becomes who we think we are, and it's not. But you have to be willing to love yourself enough to entirely let go of the past and come right here and now. And you do it with heart and brain coherence. And we talked a lot about how you do that, so I'm not going to talk about it anymore right now. That's my rave about forgiveness. It always comes back to your heart, and it always comes back to your mind and how you use those. And it's Friday, and for me it's been quite a turning point, powerful week in lots of ways I can't explain. I'm very grateful to have shared it with you, and remember, if you do have questions, please ask me. Look out for Resonant Replays over the weekend. Very much love. I'll see you on Sunday, Monday. Bye-bye.